Today on Family Tech Update, more video games are going from console to mobile. You don't have to be friends with your kids' friends' parents for them to chat with them on Facebook Messenger. And John Wilkerson stops by to help me answer some of your questions. Hello there and welcome to Family Tech Update. I am your host, Michael Prince, the founder and director of Because Family. BecauseFamily.org is where you can learn all about our organization that inspires and equips parents to be the first influence in the lives of your children. And you're getting this podcast from safe.becausefamily.org or familytechblog.com, where we are always keeping parents in the know on what's going on with social media, what's going on with the online world that their kids are growing up in. This episode is brought to you by Accountable to You. That's accountable, the number 2, YOU. You're going to want to go there and sign up for the best accountability software that's on the market right now. Only $7 a month will protect 10 devices. And if you use the promo code BecauseFamily, you get your first month free, and we get a cut when you start paying for it. So that helps us. It helps your whole family. It's a great idea. Go sign up, accountable2you.com. Use the promo code BecauseFamily, all one word, BecauseFamily. Perfect. All right, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty, the news. So I talked a while back about Facebook Messenger Kids and the greatness that is being able to control a messaging app to allow your kids to use it without them being able to contact whoever in the heck in the world they think they want to contact. So a new development came up over the last month or so where Facebook has now made it to where your kids can be messenger contacts with other kids. You ready for stick with me here, whose parents you're not friends with on Facebook. Let me give you an example. Little Timmy says, "Daddy, I want to be friends with Joey on Facebook Messenger. Can I invite him?" Yes, let me send an invite to his dad or mom so that he can be your friend on Facebook Messenger. Kids, well, when you go to do it, you're not friends with Joey's dad or mom, so you can't send the invite. So now instead of having to friend request them just for that reason, you can still send it, and then they get a notification that your kid wants to talk to their kid, and they can accept or reject that invitation. All well and good. I don't really have a lot of problems with this. I don't think this is the end of the world or a big deal, but I do think that we need to be careful to be sure that we know who our kids are friends with on Facebook Messenger. And we need to be friends. We need to know their parents. Here's the deal. You wouldn't send your kid to go to their house, hopefully, if you knew nothing about their parents. You wouldn't say, go hang out in their bedroom, go do whatever. You would be a little bit cautious because you want to know, what kind of influence their kids are going to be over them. These friends are going to be over them. So you're going to want to make sure that you at least know who the parents are, and you've at least, I would friend request them and say, hey, our kids want to be friends on Facebook Messenger, and I need to know you a little bit before we do that. So I would do that. And there's always the risk of people getting on there and pretending to be a kid on Facebook Messenger and not really being a kid, asking for an invite, even pretending to be kids that are in the school, and that kind of stuff has happened. So it's best to just do a little extra digging. Go ahead and be friends with them. Even though you don't necessarily have to, go ahead and be friends with them so that you can be sure that they're not coming in contact with somebody you don't want them to be in contact with. News part 2, Snapchat has now made it possible for you to delete that typo or unintended message, or the message you meant to send your wife but you accidentally sent your buddies, the sweet, embarrassing one, or the message you meant to send your girlfriend and you sent to your mom, something like that. Now, here's how it works. So if you're in a group chat or a chat with somebody and you go ahead and send a picture or a text message or whatever to somebody, you're going to be able to delete that if you want, even if nobody's seen it or only some of the people have seen it. But they will get a notification that you deleted a message. So it'll say, all the feed will say everything that's happened on there, and then it'll say so and so deleted this message, and so or deleted a message, and so they'll while they won't see the message itself, they'll know you deleted something. Again, it's not a huge deal, this issue. The only thing is there's always this element or this feeling of anonymity online where people feel like, especially kids, feel like they can get away with more because it's not permanent. And things like disappearing messages and things like that, it kind of spreads the message to our kids even more that what you do on the internet isn't permanent, when in reality it's very permanent. And all it takes is a screenshot and that thing's permanent. They know it's kept. So if somebody does see it, screenshots it, whatever, then it's not gone. Something like a typo or whatever, it's not that big a deal, but our kids need to know what they should and shouldn't be sending on social media when they're sending messages to their friends. They need to know what's good, what's okay, what's not okay. Finally, Fortnite, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, and another new game this week came out called Ark, Survival Evolved. They are now available on mobile. Most of these have been available on PC or console for a little while now, but now they're available on mobile. And them being available on mobile is kind of a big deal because it means that our kids can go in and most of the time download these games and play them whether we know it or not. If not mine, because I know what my kids download. In fact, they can't download anything unless I'm doing it. But if your kids are able to download apps on their devices without you knowing what it is, they can be playing Fortnite, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, or Ark without you knowing it. I wrote an article about Fortnite called, Okay, Fine, Here's What I Think About Fortnite, because I kept getting asked. And then I also wrote an article actually yesterday, as I'm recording this, or about Ark, Survival Evolved, because in that game you're able to, you can go hunting and to survive, or farming, or scavenging, or whatever, but it also allows you to tame and ride or have pets out of some of the animals that are on the map in the game. So it also lets you play online with up to 60 more people. So it's a game that I think parents need to know their kids are playing if their kids are playing it, and check in with them every now and then. The violence is usually against these big dinosaur creatures that are trying to kill you or hunting to eat. There's not a lot of human against human violence. It is there in the late game, kind of late stages where you can battle against each other. But for the most part, it's pretty laid back on most of that stuff. But it is available now on mobile. And if you're one like me who likes to know what your kids are doing on their gaming and their devices and how much time they're spending doing it, then you need to know that they can download that on mobile and play it. So there you go. That is the news. Remember, all these articles about these topics and many more are available at familytechblog.com. You can go there to read up more about this stuff, more than I just recapped here briefly on the podcast. So without any further ado, I'm going to get to some of your questions that you asked me over the last couple weeks on our Facebook page and some in person. And John Wilkerson, our representative from the northeastern United States, is going to be joining me, and we're going to answer these questions for you. So let's get right to that audio-only version, or the remainder of this episode. Hello, and welcome to the Family Tech Update main section, where we're going to talk about these questions that people asked on Facebook. John Wilkerson is joining me. Hello, John.
Hello, Michael.
Tell everybody your links if they want to track you down.
If they want to stalk me,
yeah.
thewiredhomeschool.com. And I have a new podcast with my daughter that gets released occasionally, projectmovietime.com, where we talk about movies that we've seen together.
Cool. Projectmovietime.com. Awesome. Is that released on iTunes or anything yet?
It is not on iTunes yet, no.
Okay. All right, cool. Just curious for my own listening reasons. Awesome. Well, I asked on Facebook a couple weeks ago, actually. I had really good intentions of recording a podcast. And my family's dance recital got in the way. Didn't get in the way. I knew it was coming. I didn't do it before it, so it didn't get done over those 2 weeks of rehearsals and craziness. So, because I do all the production for it. And So it keeps me busy. But here we are now. I asked again today and actually didn't get any new questions. So we're going to just answer the questions we got last week or week and a half ago, whatever it was. And two of them are basically the same question. And then we'll go and answer the one other one. Let's start with this first one from Blaze. You remember Blaze, don't you? My cousin from the old Too Much Information podcast.
Yes, Blaze.
He asked, should parents set up a DNS filter? And you go ahead. You took a breath like you're ready to say something.
Well, what I would recommend for most parents, this is a very technical question.
It is, absolutely.
And so for probably 99% of the people out there listening, I would answer no.
I agree. Yep.
The easy way to go about this is to get yourself a circle.
Yeah.
That will work. Or you can use OpenDNS on your router. You can program that all in there. And if you have a free account and they have a set of family filters where you can where it'll filter out things as well. I have that and Circle running at my home right now. So yeah.
We just use Circle. I think that's honestly, in my experience, the last couple of years working with families on this, the simpler the better.
Absolutely.
I can't even get them to go into their routers and change the password. So setting up DNS filters and stuff like that is just it's a losing battle for in my experience for parents. I know guys, I talked to a woman this morning whose husband runs the security for the bank, one of the banks in town here, and the cybersecurity, and so he could do it, but
sure,
he's one of very few people I've met or who I know in the area here who could just get that done.
Yeah, I had someone ask me one time, well, why would I get Circle when I can just set that up on my router, or I can use Linksys's, use the Linksys family filter thing. I said, well, you wouldn't have to, but the average person doesn't know how to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Circle narrows it down to these button taps on this app that makes it it's like creeping for a photo in social media or something. It's not any more complicated than any of those things. It's setting up an account on anything else. So it's something that they can, you can do. They've done a good job with making the language understandable and easy. And so, yeah, it's a good one. I would say use Circle, the DNS filter. If you know what that even means, then you probably can set it up, and that I do recommend it. But I also always recommend an accountability software of some kind, even when you have a filter set up, because you want to be alerted if something gets by it, and because occasionally that happens.
Yeah, or if your son is spending 6 hours a day on ESPN.
Yeah, you want to know these things.
That
sounds rather specific.
Yeah, no, it's not specific. I just went there instead of going the porn route that most people go.
Or anywhere. I mean, just YouTube for that matter.
Exactly.
If they've been watching Minecraft videos for 10 hours this weekend, you need to have a conversation, and so that's a way.
Right,
to do that.
and it's important to let people know that Circle and any other kind of DNS filtering, it's only going to work in your home, on your home Wi-Fi, which is why you need to have accountability software, because if you have a teenager who has a smartphone that also has a data plan, which they all come with data plans now, then you want to know what they're doing. You want to be able to see what they're doing when they're away from the house and what they're doing there. And as with any other filtering type situation, they're not 100%. You still need to, see what your kids are up to. It's not just set it and forget it. This is not a Ronco little cooking thing where you, just go off and leave it alone. You have to,
pot. Yeah.
Right. You still have to be involved with your kids' digital lives.
Yeah. And it's not foolproof. It's not the end of the story. It's one of the tools you have to use. And the most important tool is talking with your kids about it. Like I say all the time, and being in the loop, staying in the loop, keeping track of, with the wiredhomeschool.com and familytechblog.com and all those things that are out there, keep a track of what's going on, so hey, Snapchat lets you delete messages right after you send them now. Did you know that? If not, I just covered it earlier in this podcast episode, but that's something parents need to know, that there's now another way for their kids to feel like they can share something real quick and then not have that responsibility that it's going to be forever just because it's online, So got to keep yourself in the know. All right, we have more questions. Actually, there's 2 more questions, but I'm going to read them both right now because they kind of ask the same thing. So Amber, first off, asks, you may have touched on this before, but what options are there for giving a child a phone without giving them a smartphone, or just any safe option? And then Mesa asks, what's a good way to start up tablet or computer time with your preschooler and your elementary kids? What are the expectations, rules, and safety? Also, are flip phones a way to start for kids needing phones while away from mom and dad? She said Kim and dad, but I'm sure she meant mom. So that sounds like a overgrown thumbnail issue. That's what I get sometimes. But anyway, so hers is kind of split into 2 questions, actually. Starting preschoolers and elementary kids on screen, computers and tablets. I'll say that mine are all only in elementary school, and they, elementary and preschool. And for them, they have a limit with Circle for 30 minutes a day. I let my older 2 kids use Facebook Messenger Kids, but they only have friends on there that are cousins and then grandma and aunts and uncles. But they are only allowed to do that for 15 minutes a day. So there's just certain rules on how they do it. I have very strict rules, and I use the software to help us set those rules. The expectations are, I actually had to have a conversation with my oldest son because he took his phone with him to the Friday night, what we call Granny Night, which is while mommy and daddy go to dates every Friday. And he took the phone to Granny's without us knowing. He was listening to his audiobook, so he wasn't being an idiot. He was just listening to his audiobook while the girls were all playing, because he's the oldest and he's the boy, and the rest are all girls till the 4-year-old. So he's listening to his audio, but he didn't ask, and he was on their Wi-Fi with no filter or no anything set at my mom's house, because I haven't been a good enough son to set up a filter on my mom's Wi-Fi. I need to go do that. But anyway, we had to have a conversation. He lost the thing for a week because I told him, this isn't your phone that you just take around everywhere. You don't need that. I don't want you to have that. You don't go to Granny's house and do that. You go to Granny's house to play board games and watch movies with everyone or play with everyone. And so, the rules are very explicit, very obvious. He knows what they are, and the expectations are there, and we enforce them. So I think as far as expectations, rules, that's the big deal. And with safety, do the filters and things like we just were talking about, for sure.
Right. Well, with expectations and rules, you need to start right away. And the way you start right away is, all right, first of all, no child under 3 years old should be sitting in front of a screen unattended. Probably no child under 8 should be sitting in front of a screen unattended. But the Academy of Pediatrics says under 3 years old should not be in front of a screen, ever. So there's that, and you could take that or leave it, whether you want to accept their advice or not. But anyway, when you do give your child a tablet, even when they're observed, you start right from the very first time. Okay, here, you're going to use this for 10 minutes, and then when your time is up, you're going to give it back to mom, or you're going to give it back to dad. And that you build that expectation, and so that as your kids get older, they don't expect to have unlimited usage of a device. And so it starts early. And I mean, my kids who are teenagers, they don't get more than 30 minutes of free time on electronics, whether it's the Wii or computer games or the tablet. I mean, I have teenagers in the house, and our deal is it's 15 minutes. Unless you're doing something with someone else, then the 2 of you together get 45 minutes. And so that's a way for them to get a little bit of extra time.
Shared
And
time
Right, shared screen time, and then occasionally we will give them bonus screen time for whatever reason, but they know it's 30 minutes, and they all use a timer. When an 8-year-old knows how to twist a kitchen timer to 20 minutes or 30 minutes or however much time you deem is okay. They know how to do that, and you teach them to regulate themselves. And the reason this is important is because if they learn to do it, then they know mom and dad don't have to do it, and there won't be consequences when they go overtime. And one of the things that, because kids like to push limits, oh, can I finish this level? Can I have 5 more minutes? And that's okay I think it's okay every once in a while, because it's really frustrating when you have 20 seconds left in a level and your timer goes off and you think you're supposed to stop. But here's the thing is, at some point your kids need to get to the point where they realize, okay, they look at their timer and they know this level takes me 5 minutes to clear, and there's 1 minute left on their timer. Yeah. If they start that level, then they need to know that either A, they're going to need to stop, or they should just stop early. And when they start doing that, that's when you can start giving them more time. When they start regulating themselves and they stop asking every time, can I have more time? Or when they start stopping early, that's when you can start extending that time for them. And I think the other thing that needs to be in consideration with this is, how much time do your kids spend, if you homeschool, how much time do your kids spend in front of a screen homeschooling? Because you need to think about that too, because you don't want to build a culture in your family of being in front of a screen 5 or 6 hours a day.
And even if they're at public school or private school, how much of that day is spent in front of a screen? The one-to-one programs and that sort of thing with the schools now, they're giving these kids most of their assignments on their computers,
right?
Tablets that they have. And one of the local private schools this coming year, everybody's getting an Android tablet, and they've kind of prided themselves for a while on not, but they got to get a little bit of that grant money because they're including technology in their education, so they went for it. And now parents are telling me, I don't know what I'm going to do, because all they want to do is come home and be on a screen. Well, now I know they're going to be on a screen at school all day long, because the curriculum is going to be mostly based on, reading a little bit in the book and then answering the questions on the tablet. Yeah, they're going to be using Google Classroom and all that kind of stuff. And YouTube and like just nonstop. And so you got to take that into consideration. And honestly, I'm all for the kids need to play outside. Yesterday, my 4-year-old fell and skinned his knees up pretty badly, and I was like super proud. I wasn't even like, I was made sure he was okay, and then I was like, dude, good job, man, good job. And I was chasing him around with Nerf guns. That's why it happened. And so I was even proud of myself, because I was like, yeah, my kid hurt himself because I was chasing him with Nerf guns. But because how many kids, they're not going to be outside this summer doing that sort of thing. They're playing Fortnite all day long. And you've got to set your limits, set your boundaries. And the big thing, and they'll, obvious transition here, but the big thing is, if once you give them their own device, especially smartphones, the control becomes that much harder when it comes to screen time. Right. And so it's easy when it's the Wii, or for us, we have a Sega Genesis, and we play like Sonic the Hedgehog, Nice. And we usually have to play together because they can't beat the levels without help. And so, when it's something like that in the TV in the family room and everybody sees it, it's easy to go, hey, you've been doing that too long, let's turn it off. But when when they're just walking around with the device in their pocket all the time, or in their hand all the time, in front of their face all the time, it becomes a lot more difficult. So I do recommend, and that goes to the next part of this question, that you're careful and you wait as long as you can before you get your kids a smartphone, because that's when they get that feeling of that FOMO, the fear of missing out, and that feeling of I have this now, I can use it as much as I want, do all the things I want to do with it, and constantly be on my smartphone.
Right.
And so yeah, I'll read that part of the question again real quick. Mesa said, also, are flip phones a safe way to start for kids needing phones while away from mom and dad?
Okay, so
do it.
First of all, there's no such thing as safe. Yeah. Even with a flip phone, because they can receive text messages, and if you have a recycled number, you never know who had that number before. Second of all, I would ask, why does your child need a phone? Are they not going to be around a responsible adult who will have a phone themselves? Your 10-year-old doesn't need a phone. Your 11-year-old doesn't need a phone. The rule in our house has always been, when you have a job, that's when you can get a smartphone, because now you can pay for it. Yeah. You can pay for the service yourself. My daughter, she just started working a job, and I bought her, well, we had a smartphone that we were going to give her. It got all messed up. We won't get into that because Dad tried to repair it.
Nice.
But
nobody needs
to know.
Right.
Right. So I did it with my last daughter too. Is we pretty much buy our kids their first smartphone. It's used. It's not the latest one, or maybe someone gives it to, and we say, this is it. From this point forward, after you pay for the service, and from this point forward, if you want a new device, you're buying it. If you drop this and break it, it's broken. That's it. So now that she has a job, she can do that. And then I have a son who's also started a job this summer. And I don't know necessarily if we're going to give him a phone just yet. We'll have to see. Definitely not. Probably not. We're probably not going to give him a smartphone. But we might give him a dumb phone, but I don't really see a reason to do that. Your child, if they are not old enough to work, then they are probably going to be with other adults that are going to be responsible for them. So there's really no need for them to have a phone. If they want to call mommy or daddy because they're lonely, they can ask their aunt, their uncle, or whoever they're with, hey, can I call my mom and dad because I'm feeling lonely? That's
exactly. And I'm glad. That's one of the reasons I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast with me now, because I love not being the only one saying these things. That my rule is, your kid gets a smartphone or a phone when you need them to,
right?
For some reason. If you can have a good reason, and you can go, man, we just can't do this without them having a phone of their own anymore, we can't do it, then that's when you go get the thing. But because they're asking, or because, and I don't buy the idea that they need to have something so that we can train them on proper usage before they grow up and get out of the house. I don't really buy that, especially when they're 10, 11, 12. Maybe when they're 16, 17, they got a job and you got 3 years to, help them, or a couple years to help them understand before they go off to college. Maybe I understand that, but I don't really get the idea that you need 8 years of your kid learning how to use a device responsibly. That's their device. That can be done very easily with the shared iPad or old. Ours is an old iPhone 4.0 or iPhone 4S. Mm-hmm. That half the apps on the App Store don't even work on the thing.
Yeah.
So they have the Adventures in Odyssey app that they listen to. They have a noisemaker so they can feel like they're at the ocean when they're going to bed at night. That's about it. And so that it's what do they need it? Do they need it? If not, don't get it for them. And but you did go and you did some footwork here. By footwork, I mean mouse work on your computer.
Yes.
And you tracked down a good list at fatherly.com. We'll put this link in the show notes. But you found a good list. I'll let you walk through that real quick if you want at fatherly.com of these dumb phones. The name of the article is 5 best basic phones for your kids, but I don't know. I mean, a dumb phone is a good way to put it because it's not a smartphone, but do your kids even need that? That's up for discussion. If you decide they do, this is what John found.
Sure. So the very first thing they have on here is it's called the Doki watch, and it's like a little smartwatch that they wear, and this is it allows your kids, they can make two-way video calls with this thing. So if they have wireless access with this device, then they can use it. It also has some tracking features on it. It's really intended for younger kids. Again, I don't really see a reason for this if your kids are with a responsible adult. There's just no reason for this. Hey, Uncle Joe, can we FaceTime Mom?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's simple. The next one is the Nokia 3310. Now, this is, if you are an old guy like me, you remember the old Nokia phones, and this is kind of the reimagined version of the old Nokia 3300, and it's a nice little phone, and it's got very simple cameras on it. It's got Snake on it like the original one used to have. Yeah, it comes in multiple colors, costs about $60. And the nice thing about this is it hardly ever needs to be charged because it'll work on standby for like a month or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
and you can throw it against a wall 3 or 4 times and it won't break probably.
Right.
The other thing I think is good about the phone like this is how difficult it is to text with these phones.
Right. T9.
Yeah, the T9 method, because that's one thing that drives me nuts is kids. They're always in conversations with people. Their parents don't even know who or what they're talking about.
Right.
And this is something that makes, if you're going to text somebody, you're really going to think about it. That's why all this texting shorthand started and stuff, because, it was hard to say, talk to you later. So we did TTYL,
Right.
So,
right. Exactly.
And, that's maybe a deterrent from being in there chatting it up so much. So anyway.
So there's another one here from Blue. It's called the Tank, and this is another one it's an old school dumb phone. The only deal with this one is it doesn't work on CDMA network. So if you've got Sprint, Verizon, Boost Mobile, Virgin, I mean, basically this is AT&T is GSM and AT&T only. So this wouldn't be an option if you have some of these other services. Again, it's just a straightforward little phone. It's not actually a flip phone. And you've probably seen advertisements for these in magazines called the Jitterbug Flip. It's actually designed for senior citizens. Yeah. And they even have a kind of a feature phone as well from Jitterbug as well that makes it easier. It's kind of has Facebook built into it and things like that. But this particular is a flip phone. It's got big numbers on it. Super easy to use, and that's a good option. And really, here's the deal: go to Walmart, find a burner phone. You're gonna feel like a drug dealer, yeah. but get one anyway. That's really what you're looking for. But right. again, keep in mind that it's still not 100% safe. I remember when I got my first pager. Apparently that pager number was reused, and I used to get some of the weirdest pages in the world from people. And so like I said, it's not 100%. There's nothing 100% safe. And if that phone will do MMS like the 3310 will, which means you can send pictures. Yeah. If that's reused, or if your kid wants to take pictures and send them to people, they can do that as well with the device. A service that I recommend that we have used with our kids is Ting. And the nice thing about Ting is that you only pay for what you use. Yeah. So it's like $3 or $6 a month just for the service before you use anything.
Mhm.
And then it has tiered access. So if you never use data, you don't get charged for data. If you don't make voice calls, you don't get charged. If all your kid does is text with the phone, then you won't even be charged for voice. You'll only be charged for, that range of texts that they use. So Ting is a great service for that. Plus, what it allows you to do is you can go onto their website and you can actually see what numbers they're accessing and how often. And because it's all you can control all that online. You can set limits online to how much can be spent on the account, and it'll send messages and everything like that.
That's great.
So if you're looking for something for an older kid, again, go to Walmart, look for one of these feature phones. It's not a full-blown smartphone.
Yeah.
It might have it's probably going to have Facebook built into it. It's probably going to have a few other things built into it. So you need to be aware of that. But that's another, I guess, safer way. It's probably going to have a browser on it, but it's not going to have the best browser in the world. In fact, it's probably going to be so frustrating using the browser, you just won't even do it.
Yeah, true.
So,
well,
and
I remember
then
that with my old Razor phone. The browsers on those were horrible.
Right. Or an old BlackBerry. An old
Yeah.
BlackBerry is great too. You can get an old phone from a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle. In fact, that's what I recommend for your child's first phone. Get a hand-me-down phone. Just simply because they're gonna trust me, they're gonna break it.
Yeah.
It's gonna get dropped in a toilet, in a swimming pool. It's gonna get left on a bus somewhere. It's gonna, whatever. They're gonna throw it out of frustration because it took them 20 minutes to type a sentence on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So get them something used, get them something hand me down. My daughter went to London. She needed a phone while she was over there, and we had an old Nexus 2 laying around. It worked fine over there on their networks. So it was a GSM phone. And the phone's like 6 years old, and it did everything she needed and made phone calls and sent texts, which was all she needed while she was over there. So you don't necessarily have to get the latest thing. Get something old. And what that does is then that has the kids have a goal. Oh, I want an iPhone. Okay, well, here's how much a used iPhone costs on swappa.com or whatever. This is $300. You got to save up for that. Oh, you want a brand new one? Well, now we're talking $900.
Right.
So
it's motivating, and it helps them see. You'd be surprised how many of them go, I could deal with what I have for a while. I could spend that $900 on something else.
Right.
You might be surprised. And some of them though, they're gonna go ahead and save up and buy it, but they'll appreciate it a lot. They'll also be buying a case, and they'll be buying, all the things to keep it protected. So
right.
They'll definitely appreciate it more.
The important thing to remember is that nothing is 100% safe. Right. I mean, even this Doki watch, right? Mm-hmm. Someone could hack the back end on this watch, and next thing you know, they can just start turning on cameras all over the place. You just never know. And as secure as people think a device is, or as safe as a person thinks a device is, it usually is not as safe as you think it is. Yeah. And so you just need to always really consider that and use caution. And again, about training kids how to use something responsibly. The first way that they learn is by you demonstrating responsible use. Absolutely. They're going to watch you. And then maybe they learn by, okay, well, I'll log out of my Facebook account on my phone, and now you can log in under your account, and you can use it. You can use it for 10 minutes. You can jump on Facebook on my phone. That's how that responsibility is built. That's how teaching them is built. It's not through giving them a device of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And because too often we give them that device and then we stop thinking about it. and it's the deed is done. They have it. That's it. And then maybe every now and then we have the thought, I need to do something to make sure they're using that right or safe on it. But too many parents, and with what I do, I only get the call after something has happened. I very rarely get a phone call from a parent that goes, hey, I'm getting my kid this thing and I want to protect it. How can I do that best? That just doesn't happen as often as I wish it would. And so I'm thankful that these questions came in, though, because it sounds like it's before the fact, and I'm grateful for that. And hopefully they can listen to us old fogies talk about it and share what we think, so that maybe we can save them a little bit of a headache. So, and they can make a good choice. So, hey, thank you for being on the show with me today.
You bet.
And we'll wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for listening, and don't forget to check out John Wilkerson at thewiredhomeschool.com and at projectmovietime.com, his new podcast. And you can also check us out at becausefamily.org, familytechblog.com, or Because Family on the Facebooks, the Twitter, the YouTube, probably Vimeo too, even though we never put anything there. But we're all over the place. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Family Tech Update.
Bye.